Hi, I'm Marcia Lehman and I'm a Knox County Master Gardener. Today we will be pruning switchgrass. The botanical name for switchgrass is Panicum virgatum. Switchgrass is a native plant, which is why we decided to add it to the 2023 series of Prune Like a Pro. I would also say when you see the picture in the handout of what it looks like in the summer, the grass itself can be rather sharp, so you definitely want to wear your gloves when pruning this. And your choices of tools, you can use your hand pruners, but that's going to be a very tedious task. This is one place where you could use hedge shears, although the manual ones may be a little harder to use down on the thick stems. So you may want to use your electric or battery-powered hedge shears if you have those. You can do this with loppers. These are short-handled loppers, which will allow me to get in, but they've got about the same cutting capacity as the longer-handled ones. And for some grasses, there's a special grass tool, but I tried this briefly before starting the video, and these stems are just too coarse for a grass knife. So don't use those. Let me put this down. One of the other things I would point out, I'll share from my experience, you will see that I have tied this, made a bundle. This is just twine, but I tied it here, I tied it here, and I tied it here. Now, that's really helpful when we get to pruning because we're going to cut this down to within 2 inches of the ground. And we would have quite the pile of debris, but I already have it bundled. So one reason to tie, definitely tie before you start to prune. But I actually tied this back in December. A frost will kill all the grass above ground, but doesn't kill the roots. And what I learned from my prior experience, I planted this in the spring of 2021. It was a small, I think, 2-quart pot. And during the winter of 2021 into 2022, what I found was that once the top had browned out after a killing frost, that the top part tended to flop all over the place. And if we got a good windstorm, then it would start to break. It can be quite brittle and break off. And I was finding pieces of this all over the lawn. So this past winter, December of 2022, I came out and tied it in bundles, and I've had next to nothing break off. So I still have some winter interest in this brown bundle. The insects still like it, and I'm one step into my pruning process. So it's up to you whether you want to tie it and bundle it after the first killing frost in the fall or early winter, but you definitely want to come in, and depending on how tall it is, as I say, this one is over 7 feet. I've tied it here, I've tied it here, and I've got a tie down here. So we're ready to get started, and basically this is a pretty straightforward process. We're going to, I'm going to readjust the camera and come back, and we're going to cut it off about 2 inches above the ground. All my tools, I'm actually going to use hand pruners a little bit. I will probably use the loppers. If I had an electric or battery powered hedge trimmer, I would use that. I don't have one of those, but I do have a reciprocating saw. So I'm going to start with the hand tools, and then I'm actually going to try this and see how well it works. Stay with me. So I'm back. All my tools have been sanitized with Lysol, and as I mentioned, I'm going to start with the short-handled loppers and come in. You can hear how crunchy that is. And what I notice is now I actually have a challenge getting into the center of this clump. So this is where I'm going to, if I had electric hedge trimmers, I would use that, but I'm going to take my reciprocating saw and that has gotten me into about the center. So I'm going to go ahead, turn off the camera. I will work around the entire side until I've gotten this whole thing cut down, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like when we're done. Okay, so I've cut this down, and this bundle, this is really nice now, is ready to go. So I can either put this out for the trash guys, or if I have the patience to cut it up into smaller pieces, I could use it as mulch. I could add it to the compost pile. What I really want to do is bring the camera in closer and show you what this clump looks like now that it's been cut down fairly close to the ground. So let me adjust the camera. As I mentioned, this was, I believe, a 2-quart pot when I bought it in the spring of 2021. This clump is now 15 inches wide. Yeah, about 15 inches in diameter. And we're now, I'm right about 3 inches. So that was about as low as I could get. This is really tight. About every 3rd year, this should be divided. So not this year, but next year, when it gets cut down, I'll divide it and move it to another place. And as mentioned in the handout, switchgrass makes a great screening plant. It can be planted along a border. It does well in rain gardens. It's a native plant, so it's pretty well adapted. I've got a second one over here, and so I'm just going to turn the camera around, take my reciprocating saw, and give that a quick whack too. And this time I'll focus really closely on the base of the plant. This second plant has also been tied at 3 spots. One right below where the plumes start, a second one about the middle, and then a third one, which is really obvious, down here at the bottom. And now, I'll take my reciprocating saw and I'm trying very hard not to hit the camera. And so I've got a second bundle here, as big as the first one. And now I'm left with what would make great mulch. And so we're down to that 2 to 3 inch height. Again, this needs to be done. This needs to be pruned in early spring before there's any sign of new growth. And despite the cold weather we had in December, it's been quite warm recently. And so my concern was this was about to pop and start showing some new greenery. So again, this is switchgrass. It's a native plant. I don't know how many nurseries carry it. I would tell you I purchased these in the spring of 2021 at a plant sale by UT Gardens Knoxville. So they offer lots more native plants in their annual plant sales. So let me just put in a plug for the plant sales at UT Gardens. So that's it. Switchgrass is easy to cut back. Again, wear your gloves because these stems are really tough. And enjoy the addition of a native plant that provides a great screen. The handout shows what it looks like when it's green and when it looks like it's brown. Great winter interest. And again, divide it about every 3 years. So I have another year before I need to divide it. And then I'll have more of these, and my challenge will be to decide where to plant them. So thank you for joining us today. Go out and prune your switchgrass if you have some.